Broadcasting live from an undisclosed location. This is the TCMMA podcast with your host, Chris Cross.
Whoa!
Dana White privilege.
Let's go, baby! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go, baby!
Dana White privilege. Privilege. Privilege.
What up, what up? This your boy Chris Cross checking in. This is the TCMMA podcast. We got a lot to cover today. Dana White nearly resigned a few years back. That news is breaking. Islam Makhachev may fight Dustin Poirier. I wasn't a believer in this fight, but, Gaethje's got to fight with Max Holloway. We got to wait on Oliveira versus Sarukian at 300. Dustin Poirier ready to fight in June. It's a high likelihood that fight is going to take place. And I can't believe it. Mike Tyson's wife telling Dana White that he's training his butt off more or less for the Jake Paul fight, which is good to hear because we want a real fight, no BS, and see how it plays out, which a lot of people believe Mike Tyson will win. But first, Randy Couture is highly upset with the settlement, $335 million settlement that the UFC settled with former fighters. Couture saying, "My concern is in the settlement. There's no injunctive relief," he said. "We're not forcing the UFC to change the way they do business," which is what the class action set out to do. Now, he goes on to say fighters will, of course, make some money, but it didn't accomplish its goal of setting out to force the UFC to change the way it does business. And they're not going to, right? They keep the fighters under like 20-25% of the entire revenue. And that's because the UFC has a lot of that they got to pay for. There's a whole lot of stuff that the UFC has to pay for. So all those expenses, minus the fighter expenses, the UFC needs to come out making some money as well. That's the bottom line. In order to do so, the fighters only make so much money, right? But Randy Couture's not happy about that. And we've talked about this in detail. I don't think the UFC is doing anything wrong. I think fighters make good money, and they're independent contractors with the ability to negotiate their salary. So you had the freedom to negotiate, and then you're going to be upset about what you freely negotiated later. Now, does the UFC have a monopsony? Probably, because there's no other promotion that can really compete with the UFC. But we like it that way. We don't want another promotion compete with the UFC because we want to know who the best is. Like now you see Venom Page coming over. Michael Chandler came over a few years ago, and they're serious contenders, but they're not title worthy. They're not going to win the title because the UFC is just up and down, much stronger. And you can take the best of the best from other promotions, and they're not going to win a title in the UFC more times than not. It'll happen eventually. But the UFC has a stronghold on all of MMA in terms of competition level. So then these fighters are forced into one promotion, and they feel like they don't have a fair playing field in terms of negotiating power. But I'm here to tell you, yes, they do. They're individuals with the ability to negotiate their contract. They don't have to say yes. They can go to another promotion and make more. Because they may be, especially the younger fighters, the fighters that aren't ranked, things like that, they may be more valuable money-wise in another division or promotion, but they stay with the UFC because they want the chance of glory to win the title. So, that still is a personal choice. Don't be upset with making that decision after the fact. That's how I feel about it. Now, more on Dana White. He threatened to resign back in the day. So, what happened is Joe Rogan on the JRE, this is years and years and years ago, used a word he shouldn't have used. And then he missed a UFC pay-per-view, and there was all this speculation that Joe Rogan was done. And behind the scenes, Dana White saying he was ready to resign. Saying, anybody who is with me has been with me, knows, White told Lex Fridman. When you're with me, you're with me. It's a two-way street. It's not a one-way street. I'm not one of these guys that is going to roll over. It's like going through the vid back in the day, I wasn't laying off any of these people. Some of these people have been with me for over 20 years. We're going to lay them off? This place will burn before I would do that to my people. So, Dana White, for all the stuff we hear about him, is a very dedicated person in terms of business and in terms of the people he employs. So say what you want, but he backed up Joe Rogan 100% and was willing to walk away from the sport if Joe Rogan wasn't allowed to continue. And that's impressive, and Joe Rogan probably said something he shouldn't have said on his podcast, but the dude is speaking for 3 hours, and I'm not taking anything away from what he said, but he's speaking for 3 hours times 2,000. So you're going to say something someone disagrees with, and this was a big one. Use of a word he shouldn't have used, but at the same time, Dana White went to bat for him, and you got to respect it. I like that about Dana White. Now, more on Dana White. Yeah, it's a Dana White show today, I guess. A lot of Dana White in the news.
Dana White privilege.
Yeah, he's got the privilege, baby. But Dana White saying he spoke to Mike Tyson's wife about the upcoming fight. And Dana White saying, I love Mike Tyson, and I'm not a fan of anybody fighting at our age, but he's a grown man. Obviously, he's going to do what he's going to do. I talked to his wife a couple of days ago, and he's taking it serious, and he's training for it. White told Lex Fridman, I believe, on the Lex Fridman podcast. I think Mike Tyson is one of the most unique guys who have crossed over. Any other fighters from this generation have no way of making money without fighting, and Mike Tyson has made a lot of money outside of fighting. Tyson still has that aura that you could be in a restaurant, you'd be like, holy cow, Mike Tyson is here. Yeah, no doubt about it. And there's a lot of talk about this fight. Is Mike Tyson going to actually take the fight serious? Right? Is he going to come in and just lay down for Jake Paul because the fix is in? I have a really hard time believing that, especially with Mike Tyson. Can you imagine even stepping to Mike Tyson and say, hey, we want you to take the fall here, fight well, but let Jake Paul win? I think Mike Tyson would probably go off on somebody if they even mentioned that. I can't see Mike Tyson disrespecting a sport for a paycheck. I just can't see it. So therefore, to me, this is a legitimate fight, and Mike Tyson's going to train his butt off, and I still think he loses because Jake Paul's like 27, 28, and he's 57, 58, something like that. There's like a 30-year difference in the age. So that's going to be a major problem for Mike Tyson, unless he gets the KO in the first or second, maybe even third round. But longer than that, Tyson will begin to tire because he's older. It's just the way it is. It's part of humanity. You slow down as you get older, right? But I know a lot of people disagree with me on this topic, and it's all good. Now, another topic that's big today is Islam Makhachev may fight Dustin Poirier for the title. And I saw the back and forth earlier in the week, and I'm like, how is this going to happen? You got Justin Gaethje's next in line, but then wait, he's got to still fight Max Holloway at UFC 300. What about Charles Oliveira and Arman Sarukian? Oh, they're fighting at 300. So right now, Dustin is big in the news. And if you're Dustin, you're chomping at the bit, right? You want to get this fight signed now before 300 happens and already have a fight scheduled. And he's going to get it potentially because he beat Benoit Saint Denis, even though he lost to Justin Gaethje. Somehow Gaethje is fighting Max Holloway, which is crazy. I can't believe Gaethje should have just waited a few months. And this is what I believe it's Islam's coach says. Islam's a true professional, and he wanted to fight at a time that he's going to be ready to defend his title at the best ability that he can do, Mendes told MMA Mania. During Ramadan time, shortly thereafter, there's no way. Not going to happen. If it's Dustin, fantastic. If it's Justin, fantastic. But from my perspective, because who's available now? Who would be available sooner? Dustin. I believe that's the reason why this is going on. And that's wild to think, man. Dustin Poirier is going to get another shot at a title. And Islam Makhachev, saying that he's a permanent contender, right? Permanent contender. Meaning he's lost for the title so many times, or a few times, that he's never going to win it. He's just a permanent contender. But that fight is going to be ridiculous. That fight is going to be absolutely ridiculous. And does Dustin Poirier have any chance to win? That's the question. Is the third time or fourth time the charm? Is this the one where he can get it done? The guy's 30-8. Just briefly looking over his numbers, 5.5 significant strikes per minute. The problem is in the takedown defense, 63%. That's going to be a problem in this fight. Benoit Saint Denis took down Poirier 3 times. Had 50 significant strikes at 28. He was dominating the fight until he got KO'd in the second round. He lost to Justin Gaethje by KO, trailed in significant strikes. Beat Michael Chandler, but trailed in significant strikes, got it done with the submission. So Dustin Poirier is getting beat, but he's finding ways to win. In the last 4 fights, he trailed in significant strikes. The last time he led in significant strikes was against Conor McGregor on July 10th, 2021. So it's been almost 4 years since he's had a fight where he's led in significant strikes. So even though Dustin is slowing down, he still finds himself in a position to contend for the title. It's wild. Absolutely wild. But today's prediction of the day goes right in line with this topic, right? Today's prediction of the day is Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway at UFC 300. Highly looking forward to this fight. So let's take a look at the prediction right now. We're just 2 weeks away from 300, so more predictions coming. Obviously, we got the whole prediction show. We'll do that week, but let's sprinkle one in here since we're talking about this particular division. And Max Holloway is coming up to face Justin Gaethje. Is this a good idea? Check it out. In the lightweight division at UFC 300, you got Justin Gaethje coming in at 25-4, taking on your boy Max Holloway. Is moving up. He's 25-7. Both guys 5'11". Holloway 32, Gaethje 35. I'd argue both are still in their prime. Gaethje 1-inch reach advantage 70-69. Both guys stand right-handed. Both guys very active, over 7 significant strikes per minute. You can see why it's for the BMF belt. Both guys don't really get takedowns. So it's going to be a stand-up striking affair, power versus speed. And it's really going to be interesting to see if Holloway can hang in this thing, because Gaethje has a lot of power. Now he's got a 75% takedown defense that he even more means they're going to be on their feet. Gaethje beat Dustin Poirier in the last fight by KO. Rafael Fiziev by majority decision. His last loss was to Oliveira, who was dominant at the time. That came by rear submission. So that's what Gaethje's got. Now Holloway beats everybody except Volkanovski. He's beaten Chan Sung Jung, a.k.a. Korean Zombie, by KO. Arnold Allen, decision. Yair Rodriguez, decision. Calvin Kattar, decision. He lost to Volkanovski back in July of 2022 by decision. He's won 4 of his last 5. He's basically the best fighter in the featherweight division outside of the champ, at least for right now. But this isn't the featherweight division. This is the lightweight division. And even Holloway's dominant in the featherweight division, as is Volkanovski. You see what happens when these guys come up to the lightweight. Holloway is a tough dude, and he very rarely gets finished. But Gaethje is strong as heck, and I think that's why people want to see this fight. It's not so much whether Holloway can win. It would be crazy if he did. It's whether Gaethje can KO Holloway, and that's what people are going to be watching for. I think it'll happen. Gaethje's going to win this fight on the feet in dominant fashion, sheer power, to move to 26-4. Again, will he get the finish or not? That's what we want to see. Lightweight division, UFC 300. Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to. And that's why they're booking this fight. Is Holloway's tough, but at lightweight, he's going to struggle. And can Justin Gaethje get the finish? And if Dustin Poirier doesn't get the fight time before Gaethje gets like a first or second round finish potentially, then Gaethje will get the title fight this summer. But Gaethje can't afford to sit around and wait. He's got to fight now. And I almost forgot that this is for the BMF. Islam Makhachev saying, what is BMF? This not true champion? What is the BMF? It means absolutely nothing. And it's true, man. It was cool when, they had Nate Diaz and Jorge Masvidal do it. I mean, that made, 2 older guys, that made sense. Who's the BMF? Who's the baddest MFer on the planet? But now it's ridiculous. Now it's getting watered down. It really means nothing. But I guess maybe for the sport it's exciting. It gives you something to talk about. But now you're getting to the point where it's like, okay, how can Gaethje or Holloway be the BMF if they're not the champion? Wouldn't the champion be the BMF? So you got all this talk going on, and it makes complete sense. Throw the BMF belt out and just let these two guys fight. We don't need a BMF belt on the line here because it's not even a real belt. You know, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy that we're to this point where you have a BMF belt. What is the BMF? This not champion. I love it. But listen, that's going to do it for today's show. We're going to be back in short order. We got the live watch party coming Saturday night. We're excited about that. And I guess we'll see you soon. For now, this your boy Chris Cross. Have a great day and God bless. Peace.